You may be aware of a little exchange that's going on between me and the Chinese representative who's been going out there proclaiming that he is the Chinese community and can speak on behalf of all of us out there.
You may disagree that he's claiming to represent the Chinese community, in which case, please explain why.
Some of you might agree with him, some of you might not. It's totally fine with me. But I think my point is quite clear. If you don't represent the Chinese community, which by the way, nobody can, not even me, then you shouldn't say that you represent the Chinese community. But there's one additional thing I want to point out from all of this, which is that yes, even Chinese people can be Penunggang Agamas. Sapoops, Huyo seems to think that I am bullying people and warning them not to mess with me because I have the power to nail them to the cross by putting up their comments and getting you, my gangs, to agree and condemn them. Wow. I had no idea that you were my gang. I also had no idea that this person was allegedly Jesus. I mean, this person is presumably a Christian and I have no issue with that. Even I go to church. Not consistently or anything, although I probably should do that a bit more. Anyway, he asked me to do a poll to verify whether he lied about representing the Chinese community, asking all Malaysian Chinese to poll. Then after receiving the results, he proceeds to declare, "Your poll against me is useless unless you can get all of Malaysian Chinese to agree with you." And note here that I didn't say I represent all Malaysian Chinese except to sign off as the Chinese community. Now, carry on attacking the vulnerable Victor boy. Truly fascinating. Now you might agree or you might disagree with him, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, here he is declaring that the way for us to get out of the situation is to pray. Which is not controversial in and of itself, but then he goes on and says, yes, ask me for anything in my name and I will do it. John 14:14. I'm like, bruh, does someone have a messiah complex here? I mean, first you talk about people nailing you to the cross, then you quote John 14:14, and then you capitalize the me and my name kind of thing.
Has he even mentioned Jesus at any point?
I mean, like, are you trying to join that beautiful list of people claiming to be the Messiah or something like that? Anyway, clearly, I'm pointing out that this kind of behavior is sus. It reminds me of what past would be doing. By going out there and acting like they're the most holy in the world except Chinese version and using a different religion. Which of course he would affirm by saying, "Blessed are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked or stand around with sinners or join in with mocker." While, by the way, mocking the fact that I received a hair transplant. Very interesting. Now that's a lovely hypocrisy. Even as he declares that the word of God is to convict and correct people like you. Wow, amazing. I had no idea that I was so devilish that you needed to read Bible verses against me and that if I open this up, then suddenly I will burn into flames. Amongst other things. Anyway, you may agree with me or you may disagree with me, but the point I've been making at the outset has been consistent. A, nobody can represent their entire race or religion. And B,
A person
of any race or religion can be a bad person. It doesn't matter that you believe in a book that happens to have the Bible written on it, or if you happen to hold the Quran or Rig Veda, Mahayana, or study the tales of the Mahabharata. Now, suppose a lot of y'all have pointed out that yes, the Chinese people are marginalized, which is why a lot of you have been saying, well, he's not wrong. But for me, it's always been about the principle of the thing, and with that in mind, I want to quote the late F. Scott Fitzgerald in saying, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." Now, I'm not saying that I have the most first-rate intelligence out there in the world, but I am saying, however, that someone can say something that's true, but they can also be lying at the same time. Meaning, they can be right about so-called marginalization, while at the same time not representing the entire Chinese community. I think most people out out there understand the simple truth that we are individuals. I happen to be Chinese, but I'm not the representative of the Chinese. In a similar way, somebody out there claiming that he represents the Chinese community and being a Penunggang Agamas out there to rain down the fire of heaven upon human beings doesn't need to be the representative of the Chinese. And I'm sure that some of y'all think that this and the message of Christ is not about a religion but instead about a personal journey. But since we are out there quoting Bible verses, here's one for you. 1 John chapter 4 reads, "Dear friends, do not believe every spirit but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world." Which of course our man of God responds by saying, "Are you not picking bones from fish? Your targeting me has nothing to do with what I wrote, but that you don't like the idea that I am representing the Chinese community because only Victor, who is grandiose complex, has the right to be superhero. Let the people who visit your posting see how vindictive and ridiculous you are for going after some 芝麻绿豆 that seem to irritate you, and accusing someone who explicitly has said that not a single person represents the entire Chinese community of being a grandiose superhero. It's truly amazing and wonderful. It's cute, right? When you have somebody who proclaims that he is going against deceivers and mockers, goes in and does both of these things while at the same time trying to be a hero of the Chinese people. But the reason I'm making this video really is not necessarily that you just go ahead and side with me or hit like or send me money for my balding head, which by the way is going pretty well at this point actually. You can donate more if you want, by the way. Thank you for your contributions. But it's to emphasize to you, if you start believing that people are better to listen to or that they are the representatives of the Chinese community just because they agree with you on specific issues, at the end of the day, that cycle is not going to end and you are going to become exactly like the past people out there who are screaming about religion day in and day out, except it's a different religion, maybe even the one that you agree with, and you will end up every bit like the zombies that these people are, except you will tell yourself that you're on the side of justice. So let me be perfectly clear about my position. If anybody out there claims that they are the representative of the Chinese community, you can accept it as a joke, no problem. But if somebody is not an elected leader, doesn't have a following, isn't in front of a crowd, and is using deceptive language to claim that they are the hero of the Chinese, while by the way denying it all the way and declaring that people are trying to nail him to the cross, I think that should raise at least a couple of red flags with you. Just because somebody is Chinese doesn't mean that they are awesome. Just because they are Christian doesn't mean that they are on the side of goodness. I've been to church enough to understand that churches are filled with imperfect people, not just with good people, but also with their fair share of drama, lying, backstabbing. Even if people are trying to be better, the way I heard it is that people go to church precisely because they are imperfect and because they are learning to become better people and not because they are perfect people. And if you look at the historical trajectory of the church, there has been killing, there has been sexual abuse, there has been hiding of sexual abuse and misappropriation of funds. Still I go though, because I know that it's about becoming a better person. It's not about being perfect, it's not about being the most amazing person in the world and then throwing out verses to people as if you can guide them. So whenever I see things like that, I tend to be very, very suspicious. You want to believe the guy? Go ahead. But that's my perspective on the matter. If you see a Christian and they tell you that people are trying to nail them to the cross, you should be very suspicious of these kinds of people. Because chances are they are no different from the Penunggang Agamas that you've been trying to run away from and that all of us are trying to run away from as we try to live our lives in Malaysia. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have to say about that, and bye.